Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So a little bit late this week with our handicap analysis. Normally do it on Tuesday, had to roll over till Wednesday. But let's kick on and talk about a few horses that caught my eye from the handicap mark changes. We'll start off with Raymond Tusk, who went up £2 to 101, which, the £2 rise wasn't ideal. But if you actually look at the race, the front two, I think it was the front two in the market, beat him in Temusius, Fox and Crystal Delight. You can see they went off 100 to 30 and 9 to 2. So nearly the front two. Moktasab was fourth. So if you look at those, it was the front three in the market that were expected to go really close. And Raymond Tusk. And they were the ones that got away from the rest, really. And I think Raymond Tusk has run a really, really good race here for third. He's only gone up £2, which means he's actually still £4 lower than when he was seventh in this race here, the Copper Horse Handicap. I don't seem to have loaded up that race for some reason. He was seventh in the Copper Horse Handicap at Royal Ascot, but he was only beaten 4 lengths that day. And I think he was never nearer seventh, beaten 4 lengths. So I think that slightly lower weight, just a £4 lower mark, and maybe a little bit more of a positive ride on him. They don't need to go forward. They can still wait out the back, but they know they've got to get after him earlier and get going sooner. And I think they're kind of gone back up in trip after running over this 1.5-mile trip. They went up to 1.6 miles for that race at Ascot, and I think Martin Harley just left it a little bit late. They've not been using Martin Harley recently. Alan King's last four, Raymond Tusk's last 4 jockeys have been Ross O'Ryan, Tom Cannon, David Probert and Ross O'Ryan. Now, Ross O'Ryan, I think, has given him 2 good rides. He did as well as he could, really, in the Group 2 at Longchamp back in October. And then he finished third, as we've just talked about, at Newmarket. If Alan King keeps Ross O'Ryan on, and Rosser knows that he's got to get going earlier, I think Raymond Tusk could run a really big race in that Copper Horse Handicap. I think he's a good horse. I really do. I like the horse in general anyway. And his form at Ascot isn't terrible. He was 7th in a Gold Cup, not beaten that far. He was only beaten 8 lengths. He finished 2nd in a Group 3 behind DXB, who obviously went on to... Did he go on to win a Gold Cup? He certainly went on to win another Group 3 at Sandown. He was 2nd to Quickthorn. When was he 2nd to Quickthorn? It was definitely at Ascot, I'm sure. I'm just looking on my other screen. He was 2nd to Quickthorn when he ran off a mark of 102. So to run here off a mark of 101 in the Copper Horse Handicap over the right trip, I think it's the right course. Yeah, I think he can run a really big race in the Copper Horse Handicap at the Royal Ascot. I think it's day 1. It's the final race on day 1. So he's the one to keep an eye out for. Whoops. That's okay. The second horse I want to talk about is Silver Samurai. Now, he was one of our selections for the weekend in the same race with Admiral D, who I'll come on to shortly. And Silver Samurai, he ran okay. He finished 9th. Was never really asked for much of an effort. I just think he was never picking up. So the jockey was quite kind on him. He never really got after him, which is interesting with a race in mind. So there is this race on Wednesday, the 17th of May, this 6 furlong handicap here, the Churchill Tyres Handicap Stakes. It's only 7 days from now, which will have been, 11 days from when he actually ran. Normally, that's a bit short, the gap in between. I think it's a little bit short. However, I don't think it was given a hard race at Newmarket. And I really hope he goes to this race at York. He's got some good form at York. Finished 2nd, finished 7th, and finished 3rd twice. And if you actually watch some of those runs, he was really eye-catching, particularly on one where I think he was 3rd. He come from right out the back. He's one I don't want to give up on. And I think he's interesting wherever he goes next. Hopefully it's to York, because that's where he has some really, really good form. The third horse I want to talk about is the Green Man, another one that we've highlighted before. He dropped another pound to 82, and it hasn't quite worked yet on the turf for him since coming back from the all-weather, where he'd run some really good races. It hasn't worked on the turf. However, there is a race coming up that I think will really suit him, and he's got to go there surely. It's this race at Doncaster. It is this one here for 4-year-olds, rated 66 to 85. Now the Green Man has dropped £1 to 82, so gets in perfectly, and his form at Doncaster is good. If we have a look on his figures here, we can see he won here in August 2022, and he also finished third in September 2022. The ground was good to firm. I think that's what he wants, especially as he's been running well on the all-weather. And hopefully by the end of this month, or the 20th of May, which is another 10 days, the ground will have dried up sufficiently that he can run a really big race. That would have been a 20-day break, which is what I think is perfect for the Green Man personally. And I think he is well handicapped. He just probably needs to go to a course that suits him. The next horse I want to talk about is Admiral D, who probably he dropped £2 to 90 for this 7th place finish at Newmarket, and he's probably ran better than it looked. He was first off the bridle. He was first beat out the back. I thought, I was hoping that he was going to run a really big race. Jamie Spencer was going to be sitting there quietly. After a furlong, he was already nudging along, pushing along, and really looked in trouble. He's made good ground down this near side and finished really strongly for 7th. There is a race in Admiral D. He does actually have an entry in the Victoria Cup on Saturday. I don't think they'll go there, but he is one I'm definitely keen to keep an eye out for. It may be that he wants better going. I think he wants better going. If you actually look at his best last couple of efforts, his seconds and third that you can see on the page in front of you, they came on good to firm ground at Newmarket and good to firm ground at Ascot. It may be that the ground on Saturday at Newmarket was just a bit soft for him. I know horses did definitely find it tricky to get through, particularly on the Saturday. You look at the Guineas, there was horses that came in and they're like, they were just wheel spinning. So I think Admiral D is definitely one to keep an eye out for next time on better going. Next horse I want to talk about is Corker, who's dropped £2 to 100 for Carl Burke. And if you followed my videos last year, you'll know I'm waiting for him to run in handicaps. I think he's a very good horse. I think he's better than his mark. I just want him to run in a handicap. And there's a perfect handicap for him at the end of this month. It's at York. It is the 5 furlong William Hill Epic Boost Handicap Stakes for horses rated 0 to 105. So rated 100, he would mean he would pretty confidently get in. And if you look at his form at the track, it's 2-1-3. So can we then forgive him some of his defeats? Well, his second come on ground that I think was too soft. It was soft, which I don't think suits him. He wants good ground. And his third, he was actually beaten by Royal Acclaim and Mondomege. Now, both of those are probably good listed horses or good group horses, particularly Royal Acclaim. I believe after winning that, Royal Acclaim went favourite for the Nunthorpe, I think. It was one of those big group ones at the end of the season. And yeah, I think Corker ran a really good race to run so well. Drop him into this handicap. It's decent prize money. I would be confident of a big run if that came up good ground for Corker. The final horse I want to talk about in this video is another who definitely wants good ground. It's Stone of Destiny. He has dropped another £3 to 70, which is crazy. I mean, when was the last time he ran on good ground? This one here, Doncaster. He was 4th. I think that was off 83. He's now down to 70. And the thing with Stone of Destiny, I advised him at the weekend. I was really keen on him. That was on good ground, and then we had all that rain, and Thirsk went from good to soft. I think it was even soft heavy in places, and I actually think Stone of Destiny ran a really good race to finish 5th. If it had been good ground, I'm pretty confident he would have gone very, very close, because he wants the better going. And when Stone of Destiny gets better going, I expect him to go very, very close indeed, particularly off this low mark of 70. There's a perfect race for him. It is this one here, this 6 furlongs, 66 to 85 handicap at Goodwood on Sunday the 11th of June. He's dropped now into races that aren't worth a lot, but I'd be confident that he could actually win a couple of races off his current mark, off 70 and then 75, 76 sort of thing. When he gets good ground, I'm very confident he will bounce back. So don't give up on Stone of Destiny. So I know a lot of these are horses that I've previously mentioned. Raymond Tusk, very interesting for the Copper Horse Handicap, off a £4 lower mark. Silver Samurai, I expect him to end up at York next for the Churchill race in 7 days' time. Really like him. The Green Man's got to go to a course that suits him. Doncaster is that. Admiral D, when he gets better going, I expect him to run a much better race. He was never travelling at Newmarket. Corker, drop him into a handicap. I expect him to go well with 100. And Stone of Destiny just needs that better going. As soon as he gets that better going, hopefully everybody ignores him and we can get 14s, 16s, 18s about him on the better going, where I think he'll go very close. Thanks for listening and hope you have a great week.